Happy Monday morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at. You tuned in once again to the Global Role Player Podcast, live presented to you by Switch Cultures. I am Jordan Taylor, alongside the Stanford Gentleman and Switch Cultures co-founder, the one and only Anthony Goods, as well as SEC legend and now ESPN SEC Network college basketball analyst and soon-to-be college basketball analyst legend Richard Hendricks. What's good, y'all? I'm showing love today, man. We off to a good start. It's a good Monday. But before we get to it, man, make sure y'all hit subscribe and like below and follow us on all socials with the handle at Role Player Media and at Swish Cultures. Excuse me, for Swish. Fellas, what's good, man? We back with another 4 quarters of topics. We're going to run through them today. We was talking a little bit offline. I'm going to let y'all get y'all 2 cents. Rich, you look like you had something to say. You was impressed with the intro?
Oh, Rich on mute.
Rich put himself on mute. See, it's not that good of a Monday, huh?
Yeah, the media guys didn't they didn't like you giving him that legendary tag yet, man. They say he needs to put in more work.
We got called Jamal. Yeah, we got Jamal didn't do his sound check before we started, man. Jamal back there tripping.
Sound check. Rich is off, man. Yeah, Rich is gonna be a media legend, man. He gonna put us all on.
He gonna make us go viral.
Can you hear me now?
We's back, man. Look at Jamal baby. Got you situated, man. But what's up, Rich?
Hey, doing great, man. It's Monday morning, man. I'm glad to be back on the pod. I know obviously we got a great show for us. Been a lot of stuff going on the NBA scene as well as college basketball. And college football playoffs. It's finally here. It is what it is. We got the 12 teams in it. So it's officially basketball season. If you don't know what it means.
I got a question. I got a question for y'all too, since both of y'all be on air and whatnot. Like, who got the best suit game right now between you two?
Rich got me. I got to get my suit game together. One thing about me, I'll talk a lot of shit, but I'll keep it real too. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I tell a joke, but I ain't gonna tell a lie. I just took my stuff to the dry cleaners right now. I'm about to go to Suit Supply, do my thing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe GQ in Chicago, get a little something. But I'm gonna get there. But Rich got it.
Well, I do think Jordan has a little bit more. The modern swag is there. I'm a classic man. You're not gonna see me coming out with a whole bunch of crazy colors. It's gonna be a dark navy, black, gray. And I got a few that I rotate in there. I might switch up a tie, but I see Jordan out there sometimes. He got a different look. He's got the open collar, some different type styles of jackets. I mean, it's pretty smooth. I can't do it, but I like his style.
I put the turtleneck on the other day and looked like Donatello. So I was like, man, I look like a Ninja Turtle. So I was like, we'll see if that one come back. But you see how he is going to be a legend. He came straight off of mute with a monologue, man. That was impressive, man. But hey, we got to get to the first quarter. Man, and we going to start with the NBA as we always do. Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo were on TV or on their podcast, discussing is the NBA or is basketball harder to play now than it was in the past? And they reference a couple of, Detroit Bad Boys, the clips that we always see Bill Laimbeer knocking people's blocks off and how people on TV blow it out of proportion. And they mentioned that basketball is harder to play now because the physicality, the length, et cetera, et cetera. So, Goods, why don't you start it off? What you think, man? Is basketball harder to play now than it was? Or is it harder now than it ever was before?
I mean, what do we mean by? I think it depends on what you mean by harder. You know what I mean? I don't think that basketball is. I think it's a lot easier, and I'm talking about for good basketball players to be successful, to make it to the highest level. I think like in past generations, like you had to be skilled at so many more things and so many more positions, and the expectations were for kind of like we talking about off air. Size, per position, that was an expectation, which was something that you couldn't control. So, and you needed to check all of these boxes before you could even get into the door, let's say like an NBA. Whereas now you could be a 6'4" power forward and be really good at like one or two skills. And then like, all right, we'll throw you in this two-way position or we'll throw you at the end of the bench. And it just wasn't like that. And you just have more roster spots, you know what I'm saying? So I think to make it to the highest level, I think that playing the game itself, I think it depends if you're a skill guy or not. I think if you're a shooter, I think it's probably let's just say if you're a scorer, I think it's probably a little harder because guys are longer, have longer wingspans, more mobile and stuff like that. But I think if you're just a catch and shoot guy, I think the game is easier now. Like, there's a lot more shots and guys are going to look for you. So, I mean, I think it really just depends on how you're looking at it. But I think getting to the NBA is easier now than it's ever been.
Yeah, I'm rolling with that.
Easier now than ever been.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
No, I'm rolling with that too. I mean, because I do think it's easier now to make it to the NBA because you can make it at a younger age. And making it at a younger age, you probably haven't had the track record, the resume to show that you're able to do something over a longer period of time. I mean, you go back just a short amount of time at the beginning of our careers. I turned professionally and was drafted in 2008. Many people made decisions to go back to school because you had to make a decision to say, if I get to the NCAA tournament and show people that I can win with a deep run, then that's going to improve my draft status. Like, that plays no bearing whatsoever on someone getting drafted. Winning, it means nothing. Leadership means nothing. And I think that definitely makes it easier for a player who's a high-level high school recruit that you're basically already on the fast track to make it to the NBA. And as far as skills are concerned, with you being so young, how can you have so many skills? You don't know how to play the game in a team structure. The physicality aspect is not there. And I look at positions that used to require a really good skill set and knowledge of the game. They're no longer there. I mean, the post play, you have to know how to play with your back to the basket. You had to know how to play in short spaces to get shots off with 7-footers all around you in the paint. Understanding how to read defenses when teams were playing different types of defenses was something that you had to have. So I think it's easier to get to the NBA. And I definitely think that that the game is much easier today now when you talk about the spacing, the pick and roll, and also just the fact that coaches give players so much more freedom than they had in previous times. I mean, that just allows you to play the game and be able to be your best you. And compared to older players, I think the older players may have been better if they would have had this type of freedom and spacing.
I think that's to me, that's the most important point. Like, I think it's harder than ever, specifically for an American to get to the NBA, just because you directly compete with the most talented players in the world while indirectly competing with guys from around the world for spots that they don't have to compete for. So, for example, Goods and Rich, we grew up competing against the Derrick Roses, the Eric Gordons of the world. And then, a guy coming from France doesn't have to necessarily play against those guys, but then they're competing for the same spots as the guys who are ranked in the top 190th to get drafted, to get roster spots. So I think it's harder for an American basketball player, but I do think it is much easier in the sense, Rich, that, we had to do, if you took a bad shot, if you turned the ball over, you might have came out the game and you had to contend with that as a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kid. Like, that's difficult to contend with while you're playing the game when you're trying to do the right thing and go make plays. So you always got to think, if I don't do this right, shit, my minute's going to get cut. I'm going to get less shots, blah, 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 blah. And you had to do it efficiently as well. You had to do it super. You didn't get more than 12, 13 shots, and you had to go get, 15 to 20 points on them shots. Now, shoot, you see someone like Ace Bailey right now. He goes 6 for 16 with 15 points, and they're going to talk about I love Ace Bailey's game. He's going to be a great pro. But then you talk about, no one else in the world can do this. Like, at 18, like, okay, like, I get it. He's cold. But yeah, I think the biggest point is the coaching aspect and the freedom makes it easier than ever.
I think, though, I think analytics has changed the game in the sense of kind of trying to eliminate, mid-range opportunities and mid-range shots. And I think it makes it difficult for basketball players in the sense that those basketball players that used to rely on like mid-range scoring opportunities, I feel like if you take that away from them, now you either got to finish at the rim or you got to shoot a three, right? So let's just say that you're not a great three-point shooter. Now you got to go get it at the rim. I think finishing at the rim for a lot of guys is difficult, especially once you get to the NBA level. And so I think like you're essentially like if this is like the whole court and then you're cutting out that mid-range section, you just have like the 3-point, you got the 3-point shots and you got shots at the rim. I think you really cut an arm off for a lot of basketball players, just because that's where basketball is moving. And and like I said, like I see it all the time when I'm out scouting and stuff. It's just like, yo, like if this kid's struggling to shoot the three, and maybe he's a good finisher at the rim, but now once you add all that size and the length in the NBA, like now he's not getting these shots at the rim. So now we really need him to shoot the three. And now he knows we really need him to shoot the three. So now all that pressure is building. You know what I'm saying? You missed 2 shots and now it's just like, damn. You know what I mean? And now you're forcing a kid to survive in the NBA by shooting that 3-point shot when he's already just going to stress about it, like even if he could shoot mid-range shots. So I think in those ways, basketball is harder.
My argument to that would be, though, if you become a three, like to get to the NBA, right? Like knowing, say, hey, you either got to be a 3-point shooter, you got to finish at the rim. So you guys are taking, or I shouldn't say you guys, excuse me, but scout, whatever, GMs are taking guys based on, oh, they're going to be a dead-eye shooter, they can finish at the rim. So you're giving them that leeway of, even if they go 0 for 5 from 3, I know that's what he does, so keep shooting it. Where in the past, it's kind of like if you go 0 for 4 in anything, whether it's pull-up, mid-range, 3, is like you might be coming out. Like if Duncan Robinson, I understand that's an extreme example. If he goes 0 for 10 from the 3-point line, he's shooting the next 25, contested or not. Like he's not thinking about that. Whereas I don't think, and for some shooters in the past, the Reggie Millers of the world, that's always kind of been the case, but not for guys like Duncan Robinson. And I also came from a system where, as much as Wisconsin gets maligned for being slow in college, like we weren't allowed to shoot mid-ranges. Only the guys that were good at it could shoot mid-range jump shots. So Bo Ryan is a guy who's been preaching that since 2000. And on top of that, if you missed it, he used to take guys out for missing the good shots that he preached. So, like, listen, we're taking threes and layups. And if you get a wide open 3 and you miss it, hey, man. Hey, bring your ass over here, man. Like, come sit down. Even if you were a shooter. And I think that, like, it built up us as players and men, whatever, in a certain way. But I think those same principles also hindered, the team success and the player development.
It hindered some of the player development, but for, compared to today's time, the freedom that everybody has also, that old school way, it was some values in some of that too. The pressure that they put on you. And now it's like, I don't think kids can handle hard coaching. They can't handle pressure. And when the moments happen that they need to rise to the occasion and they fail, they make excuses. Or if someone says something, they say that you're hating, or they jump in the portal. I mean, so I do think some of the older ways, albeit, some of those tactics where they didn't give you much of a leash, might have been frustrating to play in, but it made you a better basketball player. It made you understand. And I do think the big goal was trying to win. I don't know if that's what people are thinking when they're playing now. Sometimes it seems that way, that players don't have a clue from the IQ aspect that, hey, I got it in the post, I kicked it out, Jordan's hit a 3. Like, okay, next time I got in the post again, let me see if I can get the ball back out to the guy who just hit the last shot. I see no reading of the game in that aspect. Or my big man just got an offensive rebound put back or something. He hustled. Let me reward the big fella for running the lane and throw it ahead to him, let him get an easy one. Like, guys don't have that type of feel anymore. I think that's a sad, lost art of the game.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%, I agree. We're gonna have to move on from that one. I had one other thing, and honestly, it escaped me. But no, it just escaped me, to be honest. When you, what was the first thing you said, man? I'm over here, been up all day. I'm moving on goods time, moving all over the world. I'm moving all over the world.
Just talking about the fact that they don't recognize what's going on. Like, they don't recognize this in the leash that the coach gives you.
Should winning matter?
Yes.
If you got a kid, let me just say, if I'm Rich, you have kids. I know Good, you don't yet. But, if y'all have a kid and a son and they're saying, and some scouts telling them you need to do this, this, and that, and he's disregarding winning, are you telling your kid to do what he needs to do to get to the NBA? Or are you bringing him up as if how you were brought up, like say, hey, you need to do this. Maybe you need to make the extra pass and you'll win the game, or you need to go get that 25 and you're going to get drafted.
I would.
I know that's extreme because those two things can be true.
25 contributes to winning.
And what if it don't? What if it don't? But he's a top 5 pick.
Man,
what you gonna say?
I mean, I definitely would be thrilled if my kids could be a top 5 pick. But for me, I'm never going to let go of the idea that winning is what's matter. Everything you're doing, you should be trying to do to win the game. Everything, you play to win the game. Hello.
I look at it like this, and I'm assuming we're hypothetically speaking, if a kid's in college and he's trying to get to the NBA, and I look at it kind of like, yeah, winning is great. Impacting winning is huge, but it's not the only way to get to the NBA, right? Like, it's something that you would want, and I think you have to definitely preach that. But there's plenty of guys that play on losing teams, and an NBA team could see a skill within this kid and be like, okay, he can impact winning on our team or our level because we have other pieces that maybe make up for his deficiency. And I'm not saying that this guy is like a losing player, but if a guy is not offensively gifted, but he's a world-class defender, and okay, that one piece is affecting winning, but like offensively, he's kind of hurting his team at the college level, but maybe at the NBA level, we just need him to go run and dunk the ball on offense and then bring his world-class defense. Like, he can impact winning on a different level. So,
but what would stop you from taking the kid that does that on a winning team at the college level? Like, because there's obviously a kid who has the same skill set somewhere on a winning team. Why would you take the kid from the losing team in the losing environment rather than the kid from the winning environment to fill the same role?
It just depends, but there's just so much more that goes into it. Like, you got like the, we have, he's going to come in, he's going to talk to the sports psychologist. You're going to do intel, find out what his work ethic is really like, personality structure, like how does he fit with your locker room, with your current guys. Like, there's so many other things that go into it. So like, yeah, if I have a player on a winning team in the perfect world, yeah, I probably would want the player on the winning team, right? Because you just feel like he's used to winning. He's around. There's certain things that he's going through on a day-to-day that he's used to, and he's going to bring those traits with him to the NBA, of course. But we all know everybody on a winning team ain't the reason that they're winning. He don't fit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The culture. So it's like, he's just a product of being on a winning team, so I think that it really is, you gotta dig deeper. And I think that's why, during the draft process, you bring guys in for workouts, and, we've all sat down and talked to all the scouting department and the doctors and the medical side, and, and everybody. It's a long process.
Do you think with that process, there's paralysis by analysis? Like, there's almost too much, because there's a lot of losing teams in the NBA where it's like some of that shit clearly ain't working. You know,
you can overscout. Like, at the end of the day, talent trumps everything. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if a guy is talented enough, like, you think people didn't know that James Harden liked to party coming out of school, and he was gonna have his fun and all that other stuff, because James Harden was. He was outside back then. Like, people know a lot of these things, but at a certain point, sometimes you think the talent is just going to carry you through. And then, like, one of my superiors once told me, like, I don't care if he's a bank robber, but let me know he's a bank robber. I'll make the decision from there. I need to know that he's a bank robber. And that's just kind of the thought, is like, guys can have warts. Our job is to give him, like, let him know, like, yo, these are his warts. And then your superior's job is to make the decision: is the talent bigger than the problems?
Well, two things. I think for these conversations, you got to throw away those guys, right? Like the James Hardens, the LeBrons, because I think they're outliers. But for the guys in the middle, and I guess the bottom and the top of Europe and the bottom of the NBA, like, I don't know if talent does always, because it's like, what's the talent difference is marginal, right?
At the bottom, you don't have the talent.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But that a lot of times, I guess that this conversation, I think, pertains to those guys more so than the elite guy. Yeah, the elite guys, you got the talent is the cream going to rise to the top. But the guys who are in the in the fray, it's like, all right, the talent doesn't necessarily win out. And we're often told, right, like, oh, if you're a good guy, good locker room guy, there, you gonna get a chance. When I don't think that's the case, and I guess that's what you're saying out loud too.
It's never been the case.
So
good locker room guy will kind of get you. It'll let you hang on longer than you supposed to, but it ain't gonna.
It's not gonna get you on.
It's not gonna get you on. Yeah. Nah, once they get you in, good locker room guy. Okay, your talent's not what we thought it was. You struggling? All right, we'll keep you. Okay, we don't really want to throw him in this trade. All right, we'll keep him around. He's good for the locker room. He's best friends with our star player and this guy, and he's great to everybody. It keeps you around longer than you're supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that it's enough to just carry you and make you a journeyman and stuff like that. I don't think that locker room guys, I don't think it's that. If it was like that, I think, the NASA's would have offers all over the place.
Well, anyway, I'll leave that one alone. Let's move on to the second quarter, man. We got Paris. We touched on this last week, but we still got to keep showing love to Paris. They are up to 10 in a row. Does anybody have the legs to beat this team in the series? Rich, what you think?
I'm still standing on it. I really think, obviously, this is a really good team, but I just think the length of the EuroLeague season is going to start to catch up with them. I mean, it's just when you have so many really good players, and Thiago Splitter's doing an outstanding job. It's his first year on this level. But it's just as other teams start to power up and bolster up their rosters, and it's still tight in the standings. I mean, you're winning games, but it's still tight. It's not like you just have this, huge lead. You're in striking distance. I think they're going to have to continue to stay and lead from the front if they're going to be able to hang on.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is like, I don't know. I don't know. I think the way that they play and just the scoring, the shooting, they're defending, they're scrappy. I think that it's everybody in EuroLeague is not a great defender. You know what I'm saying? And I think TJ Shorts has shown that he can get by anybody in EuroLeague, and he can beat somebody at the point of attack. And I think Nadir is just, he's a wild card. I think Ward has been playing well. Like, I don't know, man. I think they, in a 5-game series, I think guards kind of run the world in regards to EuroLeague and stuff like that. You can't win EuroLeague without good guard play. But TJ Shorts and them, man, I don't know if there's a team that got enough defenders to really just slow them down for 5 games. You know what I'm saying? I think you're really gonna have some serious you gotta really have some serious rim protection.
So you backtracking. You was Panda last week.
I think Panda has it though. I think Panda has enough guards to outscore them.
Okay.
I think Panda has enough guards to outscore them. But when I go back to the Olympiacos game, right? They had Olympiacos down 20. Okay, if TJ Shorts is getting by Thomas Walkup, it's code red over there. Who else are you putting out there?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's every team got one defender that can but it is not just TJ. It's Nadir scoring 20 points in 20 minutes, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You got a lot of guys out there that are contributing. And it's tough. You know,
I mean, Thomas Walkup's not that type of defender either. He's not you playing fast as hell. He's a big physical defender, great defender, but he ain't that type of you getting up and down and let me stop you and gonna meet you at the rim. That matchup is I think really, really tough on him. But I don't know if there's a team. I haven't seen it yet. They look good, man. Honestly, they make me feel better about myself and our team last year. We lost to the EuroLeague champs, man. That's how we felt last year, man. We was a game away, lost to the EuroLeague champs, or future EuroLeague champs. Who y'all think is the most, or what do y'all think is the most overrated position in Europe and overpaid?
Oh man, I'll start there. Oh. Listen, I've always thought it was the 4-man because like the 4-man is just a 3 that couldn't do it, and he was tall. That's all he is in Europe. That European 4-man slot is just a guy who, as a prospect, he was supposed to be a small forward who could put it on the deck, who could dribble, who could shoot, he could do a little bit of everything. And after a few years, everybody realized he couldn't do it at all. And now you just put him at the 4, and all he does is pick and pop. He has the easiest defensive responsibility. If he ever gets in a bind, he just switches. He never has to roll to the basket in a pick and roll heavy offense. He always pops in spaces. And more often than not, they're not great shooters. They don't really have the toughest matchup. The European 4 position is the easiest position to play. And if you have a really good 4-man, now you have something special. A guy that you can give the ball to, he can post up, he can shoot well consistently from the outside, and really is a good defender with rim protection, then you have something. But typically, that's just the spot that they hide people that were not good enough to play the 3.
Goods.
Y'all ain't got nothing to say on that. It's just like what? Like, did you think?
Well, are you saying the most overrated player is the 4-man, or the most overrated position is the 4-man?
Probably the overrated player. I mean, like if you get a guy who can play it well, then you got something. But more often than not, I don't.
But that's what I'm saying. Positionally, if you have a good 4-man, then you rolling like you. Yeah, I think if you have a good 4-man, you could cover up for a mediocre 5-man.
Yeah, I think EuroLeague is full of mediocre 5-men.
Yeah, this day and age, right?
Yeah, this day. I'm talking about now. I think back in the day, back when back in our era.
Yeah, like Barusis and
you had Soko, you had a bunch of them motherfuckers. Like it was different back then. I'm talking about right now. You got a lot of 5-men that are just out there. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, keep going.
I think the 5 is probably the most overrated position, right? Because 4s, you got Vezenkov, you going against Mirotic, Chi was over there. Like you got a lot of guys, Nigel Hayes Davis. Like the 4 position right now is bumping, I think, in EuroLeague.
I think the 4 position is the easiest to play in Europe.
Yeah.
But I think the 5-man is the most overrated, overpaid, because all you got to do is work hard. Man, be aggressive, be up on screens, run the floor. Nowadays, you don't got it. Like y'all back in the day used to have to pass out the post, go get buckets, defend. Like that back in the day, it was a little more tough. It was tougher. You had to be more skilled to play the 5. Now you just got to be a good athlete, work hard, be an animal. Like Tyreek Jones, like I love Tyreek Jones. I love watching him play. He's a beast. But back in the day, he couldn't have played the 5. Like he would have got eaten up. Like he just would have with them 7-footers, and it's a slower game. It would have been tough for him. And then he would have had to play the 4, but obviously he would have been like trying to play the dunker, the short roll. It would have been tough. And maybe he would have adapted. But I'm with Goods on this one. I think the most overrated, overpaid now is definitely the 5. Even Tavares. You look at Tavares, like if you put him in the NBA, he struggled bad.
I thought he had some good flashes.
Yeah, I don't know if he was struggling.
I
saw him in the NBA. He struggled.
2 years ago, I don't think he would have struggled.
When he was in the G League and all that, he didn't look that great.
No, I mean that was back then. But let's talk about Tavares about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Tavares was
dominant
in the NBA.
I
said in the NBA.
I think he could have got there.
You think he would have been dominant in the NBA?
I think he could have played in the NBA 3 years ago.
Could have played, or like?
No, I think he could have been. I think he could have been a backup big. I think he could have been your second big on the NBA roster. I just don't think
that's such a vague statement, but I see what you're saying. Keep going.
No, I think he could have been. I think he could have been a second big. Like look at like Daniel Teese. Like he couldn't do what he's doing.
I don't think he moves like him. He doesn't shoot it like him. I think that's what Daniel
Tice.
That's what his.
You seen Tavares spread out like on the pick and rolls, and then like just the gravity when he rolls. He got great hands. You know what I'm saying? Like
he does. I like Tavares.
Great hands. Like I look at like. I'm not even necessarily a fan, but let's just look at who's like a big that doesn't have great mobility. Even a young boy in Portland, like Klingon. Yeah. Like Tavares moves better than him to me, especially Tavares 3 years ago.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't watched a lot of Klingon this year. Is he playing well?
I mean, he's blocking. I mean, whatever.
Nah. I mean,
Portland. Nobody in Portland is doing well. Like,
man, Malcolm Brogdon went to Portland. We ain't heard about him since.
Donovan Klingon averaging 5.8 points per game, 6.7 rebounds,
2 blocks,
season, 7'2". I mean,
how many blocks he averaging?
Let's see what he's got on the blocks. 2.2 blocks a game.
How many minutes?
17 minutes on average.
That ain't bad for 17 minutes.
It's just the game has changed so much. The sad part about it is we obviously talk about the position being the power forward position and the center position. Those guys are just dying off. Like, and the game is just basically saying it's no more need for you unless, you can move and dribble and guard on the perimeter. And I do predict, just give the game a little bit of time and someone has some success. Because in a copycat league, it's going to be another big man resurgence of two bigs taking advantage of people and scoring in the paint and creating shots from the inside out. At the end of the day, all you're trying to do in the game of basketball is create a 2-on-1 advantage. And that means you just got to have two people on the ball. The thought process used to be throw it into the paint and we create a 2-on-1 advantage and we kick it out for the shot. And then it used to be we pass it in and we try to get into the paint and then we work it out. Now it's just off the dribble drive. It's off the pick and roll. It's trying to get a piece of the paint. And then you get the same thing. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for people to see that, like, quality post play is still going to be an effective and impactful strategy to win on a high level. And it's going to come back. And I hope it comes back soon.
Someone asked me what it took to beat Paris, and I said my thought was exactly that. Like, if there was a big man, a 5-man who you could throw it inside to, slow them down, and he's just gonna be, efficient every time down the floor. He gonna beat them up. Because Splitter don't seem like he really want to rock with Kratzer and Hay like he does, but he wants to be fast as hell. So if you had a big man that was like a Barusis or a Sofo, one of them dudes who was just beating them dudes up, I think Paris with them shots, you get down the stretch, them shots they take, they get a little tighter. You start thinking about them a little more with less possessions. But there's a kid in the Big Ten right now, Derek Queen at Maryland. I don't know. I think he's going to be it looks like he's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick at some point. He might be one of them type of guys who brings back what you're talking about, Rich.
I mean, Zach Edey might be the guy. I mean, you got a guy who was a 2-time player of the year. You got him with Memphis. I mean, if he can come and actually come back from injury and really make a difference in this franchise, I think people are going to give us another look to big men and what they can do in the game. I just hate that the way that teams play now, they have totally just said, we're done with that. It's too much copycat. Like, I applaud the Memphis Grizzlies for at least taking the chance on saying, we're going to try to get a guy and draft him high in the lottery, and we're going to work with the skill set that he has, as opposed to try to get players to come to the league and adapt to the way that you want to play. It's flopped from basketball. You know what I'm saying? I mean, from football. You remember how, like, a quarterback coming to the NFL, it's like, we don't care if you ran the ball and did all this stuff in college. You come to the NFL, we drop back, we throw it in the pocket. And now football's like, no, we're going to draft Lamar, and we're going to run some of this stuff that you're used to seeing that he did in college. We're going to draft, C.J. Stroud, any of these guys who happen. We're going to get them moving outside the pocket, some things that they ran, and we're not just going to pigeonhole to you being some drop back Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, 6'5" quarterback. We're going to use Kyler Murray the way that he was used at Oklahoma. And basketball is doing the reverse. We're going to draft you, And it's like, we want you to now come play the way that we play in the NBA, as opposed to utilizing what you've been doing to try to win the game. I think the creativity has taken a back seat to the analytics. I think that coaches don't want to try to figure that stuff out for players. And they just want everybody to come in and do exactly what they believe. But I think it's going to make a turn in the future.
No, it's a valid point, Richard Hendricks. Thank you. Should have put you. I don't know why we didn't put you on the big screen right there, man. That was your time, man. What you doing back there, Jamal? You got to be on cue, man. But look, we gonna move into the role player of the week, the third quarter, man. My favorite topic, and it's all about not a role player, but the role player, the guy, Nikola Jokic, dropped 56 points in a loss to Denver, in a loss, but Denver is struggling right now. So Goods, man, tell me what's the reason for Denver's struggles right now?
Man, I think I don't want to put it on one player, but I mean, I just think the absence of Jamal Murray in his contribution, I think, has a lot to do with Denver struggling. I think they're missing somebody else that can go out and get a bucket, create opportunities, things of that nature. I think a lot lies on Jokic's his gravity and his playmaking, as it always has. But I just think you always just kind of had that tandem of, Jokic being able to create, Jamal Murray being able to create scoring and passing opportunities for others, and then everybody else just kind of capitalizing off of that with MPJ and Gordon, even though I think Gordon is still playing well. But yeah, I think they're just missing. They're missing like somebody else to just go out there and make plays, man. And Jamal Murray's just having a tough year right now. I think. I don't know if it's father time. I don't know if it's the injuries. I don't know if it's like a mental thing right now. But yeah, I think that's the biggest reasons for their struggles right now. And Russ is good, but Russ isn't the Russ of old. You know what I mean? But they need somebody that can kind of create consistently and score the ball.
I just got to marvel at the fact that the man had 56 points. Not only had it, he had it on 22 of 38 shooting from the field. That's 58%. 9 from 13 from the free throw line, 3 for 5 from 3, 16 rebounds to go along also with 8 assists. I mean, that's really video game. Like, that's really video game type stuff for a guy that can able to do that. But he has to have some more support. I mean, one man shooting 38 shots in 38 minutes. The ball has to be able to move around a little bit more to make the defense have to honor everybody on the court. When they know who it's going to come to, I think that makes it easier to guard them. But, I mean, just an incredible performance. I mean, 56 points, a career high. I mean, I don't know. Every time this guy does something, I think he's at his ceiling, and then he does something like that. I mean, it's incredible, really.
Do y'all think, I guess that's a perfect. My question is going back to kind of the last conversation. If Jokic is your guy and he's putting 56 points and you putting on 56 and you losing, do you have to change the way that you're playing to allow him to kind of dominate those games and give you a chance to win, right? Like, because if you got 56 and you still getting beat and you still trying to play at that pace, shouldn't you slow the game down and just put it in Jokic's hands every time and allow those other guys just to be defenders? And forgive the comparison, but MJ was, they let him take a bunch of shots and other guys around him, other than Scotty, even Scotty, guarded, defended, and they let MJ be the offense. Like in the finals, I think, what was it? MJ took 100 more shots than Scottie Pippen. That's what you have to do, right?
Oh, you're talking about all collectively.
Yeah. And it's like, at this point, like, isn't that what you have to do if you're Denver? If Jamal Murray's gone and they're struggling, don't you have to adjust in that way to allow, I guess, that 56 to be more impactful? Because to me, the reason the 56 isn't impactful is because there's so many possessions. Like, and it's like, all right, 56 is really like 35, like.
I mean, yeah,
so
56 points in a game that they score 113 and lose 122 to 113. So you scored roughly half of the team's points. To me, the problem is definitely going to have to be you need to slow down the possessions and not allow the game to get into that level. If you don't have the other scorers that can contribute and try to play in the 120s, then you need to slow it down and not to let someone else put that amount of points on you. So, I mean, the 56 points is impressive, but when you take it with the fact that you gave up 122, I mean, the emphasis needs to be more so on the defensive end and possessing the ball.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on the defensive end. I mean, because we're talking about the Washington Wizards. I mean, we're not talking about some high-powered offense. Like, Jokic scored 56 and you lost to the Washington Wizards, and that is not a very good basketball team this year, cohesively. I mean, I think they do have talent, but cohesively, it's one of the worst basketball teams I've seen in the NBA from the games that I've watched. I didn't watch this game in particular, but I think that game in particular had to have been a defensive issue, and I think that's kind of been, the problems with the Nuggets. It's defensive, and I think it's a lot. Yeah, I think it's offensively as well. You know what I mean? But I think when Murray gets back, and hopefully he can get back to form. I think he's only had 3 games in double digits this year. Something crazy.
Really? I didn't even check.
Huh? You there?
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, of course.
I don't know if that was my internet or not, but Jamal Murray, he has not played to anywhere near, the Jamal Murray that we're used to. He's really been struggling. I think that no, not double digits. There was another stat I saw. It wasn't double digit scoring, but there's another stat I saw that was pretty alarming with Jamal Murray. But he's just been struggling, man. And I think that if we can get him back to form, I think Denver, it elevates Denver's roster completely, because Denver doesn't have a lot of like individual offensive talent like that. They got a lot of like specialists, I think. So I think you need a creator.
That's why, to go back to the development of the game, like, you don't need to be developing specialists. All of the guys in previous generations, to go back to this, that were specialists, were good all-around players before you made them specialized. You still got to have that skill set to tap back into. I don't care if you end up being a spot-up shooter. Like, you take a J.J. Redick. The NBA is a spot-up shooter. But in Duke in 2006, that man was getting buckets, averaging 28 points a game. And it wasn't all threes from the outside. So you need to have the ability to be able to lean on something else. And this is a product of why you need to make sure that you don't just draft those type players around him, because he needs some help.
All right, I got a question for y'all. So, like, I saw on, on Twitter, they were talking about Devin Booker. They were saying, like, Devin Booker and Jamal Murray have been struggling, right? Now, do you think that, somebody was talking to me like, yo, like, they think Jamal Murray is regressing talent-wise right now. Do you think that players regress talent-wise, or do you think it's more so a change in the opportunity, like the opportunities are regressing or changing at a certain rate?
Opportunities, explain what you mean by opportunity.
Well, scoring opportunities, let's just say, or it could be just, the pieces that you have around you. So, like, you have Jamal Murray, who's playing at let's just say an elite level one year, and then, the next year he's falling off, or even Devin Booker, right? Everybody was in love with Devin Booker, year or two ago. And like this year, now people are getting cold on him and thinking that he's falling off or whatever it may be. Like, do you think a player's talent regresses, or do you think it's more so the shots, the players that are around him? Is it the coaching? What do you think it is for inconsistent performances, let's just say, from one season to the next?
I personally think it's not just one thing. Like, that's nuanced. I think continuity. There's always guys moving teams, whether even if it's just role players. Like, Devin Booker's role has changed tremendously too. So this year, he doesn't have the ball in his hands as much. I think he kind of got comfortable with that, and he doesn't have the ball in his hands, and he's not really the first option either without the ball in his hands. So it's like before it was Chris Paul, it was like, all right, we're playing through Devin Booker. Now they got a point guard over there. We're playing through KD. So yeah, I think the opportunities have regressed. I don't think I probably would err to the side of that, because I don't know how else you explain Devin Booker last year to this year, unless maybe he's injured or something like that. But to me, that's really that's the thing that sticks out in that situation particularly. So I probably go with opportunities regress.
I think
generally,
I think what it is when you progress from season to season, you don't have that. I think it's the big thing is age. I think, as you get older, things just become a little bit harder. You never know, like the body doesn't respond. Booker did play in the Olympics this past year. I thought he played well in the Olympic Games. I mean, when you don't get that type of rest, and here you go coming back to a team. Phoenix had a coaching change, correct? Yeah, they had now they have Budenholzer there. Mm-hmm. And now you had the previous year you had I'm sorry, I forgot the Lakers coach. What's his name again? From they won the championship with the Lakers. But they had a coaching change. They had a coaching
Frank Vogel.
So some additions on the team. You got a Tyus Jones handling the ball. I mean, there's an adjustment. And then you also talk about just the fatigue. I mean, that kind of stuff I felt like played a big role in the inconsistency from season to seasons when you're having all that type of change. But when the body just is not going to respond, that's going to be the biggest thing for players not able to give the type of input that you've been accustomed.
He's 28 though.
And that don't matter. That's when it all starts. That's when it all starts. When you hit 28 at a guy who probably came in the league at what? He might have been 18. Because I remember every time when he was young, he might have been 17, 18. Devin Booker's been in the NBA how long?
2015 draft class.
2015. So this is it's coming up on, this is 9th year?
10th, whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, that's a lot of miles. Right. He's played in 2 Olympic games.
Yeah, but nowadays you don't see that from 28-year-olds. You don't see that.
Yeah, people are playing to 40 now. I mean,
yeah, you don't see that from 20. You see KD coming back from Achilles. Like this day and age, you don't really see that at that level with the resources they got. You don't really see that at 28.
And I also think too, it just depends on like which skill is your breadwinner, right? You know what I mean? I think shooting is the last skill to regress. Like shooters don't just die. I think if you got to put the ball on the floor and you rely a little bit more on your legs, and I'm not saying Booker doesn't, because he does, he gets to mid-range and things like that. But I think shooters go through slumps, but I don't think that they just become worse overall shooters. I think like maybe, they struggle to find certain opportunities, but I think it primarily has to do with the pieces around you, the team, continuity, the coaching systems, stuff like that. Like we could even look at like, let's say like Kendrick Nunn, Miami looked great, goes to LA, has injuries, trying to fit in there, doesn't, but goes to Pana and looks like the Kendrick that we remember from Miami. So now everybody, Lonnie Walker, similar situation. I think it's just, I think sometimes new sceneries, new responsibilities and situations can improve players. But in this particular situation, obviously it's different because Booker and Jamal have been there for years. But yeah.
I think that goes back to being a complete player, even a complete player like within your skill set, and not being a specialist. Like Kendrick Nunn is a scoring guard, but when he went to LA and the ball kind of came out of his hands a little bit, wasn't able to feel it. He struggled a little bit. Whereas, again, I'm a Tyus Jones advocate. Y'all know that by now. Tyus doesn't really have an elite strength, but he doesn't have a weakness. That's for damn sure. He gonna shoot. He gonna make shots. He gonna find guys, and he just does everything well. So every situation he goes into, he excels. And I think even as like a scorer, I think the one thing about MJ is people talk about his 3-point shot. Like MJ will get to the basket. He going to post you up. He going to do whatever it takes as a scorer, where his scoring skill set was so complete. And I think LeBron, now he's struggling because for whatever reason, he don't want to go into the post. Like LeBron need to take his ass down on the block. He's 40 years old and start bullying these dudes. So I think even if you're not.
Bully at 40, Jay, I'm sorry.
Huh?
At 40, you can't book. That's why you don't go down there. He need to go with some Karl Malone picking pops.
That too. But he was doing that at the start of the season. He was doing that, and I think that's why they was having success. He was playing a lot of pick and pop, short roll, all that, whatever you want to call it. I'm just saying, whatever your skill set is, you need to be complete in it to really thrive. Preferably a complete skill set overall. But even if you're a scorer like Devin Booker, is he going to post? Like, why? Devin Booker's a big ass guard. So I think like that's a way for him. Like, can he go down on the block and post somebody up and demand a double team and pass out of that joint? And to me, that's another way to find your rhythm. But he's so predicated now, I think, on playing the pick and roll, getting to that mid range where if the ball's not in his hands, is it hard for him to find that rhythm? I don't know, but that's just something that sticks out to me. So, but let's move on, man, because y'all seem speechless on that one. So we're gonna go to the fourth and final quarter, and that was the coach's corner. Anthony Goods, you got it for us, man.
Yeah, just tapping into the to the coach's quarter. I had an interesting conversation with somebody, but we were talking about just evaluating talent, and one thing I never really thought about was like the need or the well, I guess the need. So like we could go back to like Paris basketball, right? And they play with two smaller guards. And I think the most effective way to kind of like take advantage of that is to have them involved in pick and roll actions on the weak side, to where, what I mean, they have to bump the roller, or they're meeting the roller at the rim, or, they're going to have to X switch or whatever it may be. But, a lot of times I think just putting them in I think that when we think about this era of basketball with like smaller guards and things like that, and even if you're not that small, I think being as a guard, we never really think about having to defend pick and roll from the help side or as the low man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's what makes it valuable to have, let's say, bigger wings or bigger guards, because these situations happen a lot. And maybe that switch happens, or by the time they hold them up, on the pick and roll, or, if a switch happens and they swing and dump it down, like maybe the big only has the advantage for a couple seconds. But, if you're getting blown out of the picture, I think that is if you're getting blown out of the picture in regards to that guard can't hold that big up, that's just bucket after bucket after bucket. So, one thing that I've noticed is like, or one thing that I haven't necessarily been paying attention to until I had this conversation was just, the importance of wings and guards in help side defense, guarding pick and roll. And I think that's I thought it was dope. And it's just something that, I've always, obviously I could think about it, but I never really sat and watched how engaged and how many times a wing or a guard is involved in pick and roll, and what impact that has into the effect or the success of that pick and roll play.
Is that three guard?
Go ahead, Rich.
I was going to say that three man on the weak side is critical and how he can help. But what do you do offensively? Are you saying that now you got to have – so how do you position it to get the small guard, to be the help on the weak side? Are you running ball screens with your wing players now and running it with your wings, like a 3-5 pick
I think
and roll?
a lot of zoom action. I think zoom action, where you throw it to like the high post, whatever, at 5, and then the guard comes off of UCLA and goes to that same side corner. Like you throw it to the 4-man, and then he goes handoff. The guard comes off UCLA from the 5, and it's just the 4 stays high. The 5 sets the middle screen, and then the guard's in the corner on the backside. Okay. Typically, is one way to do it, but
get into it.
That's a way that's one way, right? To get into it, to put that guard, a simple way to put that guard on the backside, or the smallest guard on the backside, because typically the one handling is going to be the smallest guard, right?
So I'm looking at the guards coming down. He's going to throw to the pinch post.
Horn set. Just think horn set. Guard throws it to the 5 or to the 4-man. You got your pick and roll guy in the same corner as the 4-man. The guard's coming off a 5 on a UCLA or a back screen, whatever, and going to that same side as the 4 and the 2. And then the 4 is handing off with the 2. He's staying at that 45, and the 5 is setting that middle of the high screen in the middle of the floor. And then you put the guard 1. If you got a lazy guy on the point guard, he might not even see it. He might just follow his man all the way to the corner. Right. But either way, he's stuck as the MIG. Right. So you can't really tag with the 4-man, because if you got a shooter as a 4-man, that's a tough tag for him. So and again, that's elementary.
Yeah, but I think it's any action where that smaller guard is passing through, and he has to at least stop and check before he slow getting the next action. Because if it's a static play, they can just switch it like ASAP. Yeah. But if you could do it in passing, I think that's the way that you kind of finesse.
I think real quick before you go too, Rich, but my bad. But I think that's why when you said that, it made me think of the Heat. Like, that's what made them so good defensively, is you couldn't really find that guy. Like LeBron and D Wade ended up on that backside a lot, and you had to try and find Mario Chalmers, but a lot of times he was guarding the pick and roll man. So it's like, if you wanted to be aggressive, I just remember LeBron meeting Tiago Splitter at the rim, D Wade getting all them blocks, and it's like them dudes was so like, which they was like big man down there. What was you gonna say? My fault.
No. Like you made when you thought you said the cutter coming through and he's got to make a decision. I just had a vision of Jason Terry when they were coming down in that transition. He was stuck in between, and LeBron, Norris Cole, and it's like, that's the position you're gonna put that guard in. He's in the middle of the paint. He doesn't know where to go, and he's gonna get dunked on, or it's gonna be a 3 or something. And I played with a player, Devin Smith, who was in Maccabi, who was really good at that as the 3-man. Like, he could be the low man. He could rotate over and block a shot. He could close out in the corner. And it's like, that piece that's away from the ball is so critical in pick and roll coverage. He's so critical. And you have to have the right attitude to play it, because if he's lazy, then he messes everything up for everybody. I mean, everybody's got to be on the string, but some positions require you to be far more engaged in what's going on in the offense.
Yeah. Engaged and intelligent, because if you come too high on the check, it's going to be a back cut and a dunk, or a pass to the corner 3 and you in rotation, or if you stay too low, you about to get yammed on. So yeah, that's not a fun position to be in, especially in the NBA. I know a lot of NBA teams playing in deep drops, but I can't imagine that's a lot of fun. Yeah. But no, that's an interesting conversation. Who you had that conversation with? You gonna tell us? G14 classified.
Yeah, off air.
G14 classified.
A gentleman never shares his sources.
Shit. All right, paycheck, rain check. Take us home, Goods. Man, you the star today.
Man, paycheck, rain check, man. The one, the only, the great Jordan Taylor, man. It can be seen on TV nowadays, man. He announced his retirement a few weeks ago. We never brought it up. We never brought it up on the show, but man, I think it's only right that we recognize JT, man. This is a Show Love podcast, man. We got to give Jordan Taylor his flowers for such a lengthy career. And I'm being serious, man. I think that it's difficult to go from college, to playing overseas for that long of a career. And I think that, as you step into this new career, man, and look back on your days overseas and in college and everything that you did in between the lines, all the hard work, all the knee surgeries and rehab and all that other shit, man. I hope you stop and you appreciate, everything that you've been able to accomplish, because it's not easy, bro. It ain't, and we all know it ain't for everybody. And to stay employed that long and walk away on your own terms is a blessing. And I think that, it's something that, we would all want for anybody that we cared about that wanted to step into this game, man. So, paycheck, rain check goes to Jordan Taylor. I hope you rise on the media game and steal some jobs from Richard, so you guys can get a little more interested on here, get a little animosity going. But congrats on a great career, man.
I got to chime in too. Congratulations. I mean, listen, I had the honor to play alongside you, and you talk about a guy who was a real professional, came in and competed, made our team better when he came in mid-season. So, I mean, a long career on the ups and downs, be able to persevere through it, and then get your just due. I mean, a first-team All-American in college, I always felt like you were a winner, had an opportunity, should have had a career in the NBA, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. but the attitude shift to still make the most out of it, that shows something that a lot of people just don't have. And now the smooth transition right into the media space. I mean, I think the best is yet to come. So, man, hats off to you, man.
For sure. Appreciate y'all, man. We got to give some of this knowledge back to these young kids, man, too. So it's media and we going to announce we got a rebrand coming too. So but y'all hear about it soon. But I appreciate the love, man. That's it means a lot. So yes. Honor to share the mic with y'all. But listen, man, I definitely appreciate it. That is the Role Player Podcast for you this week, presented to you by Swish Cultures. Make sure you follow along and hit like, subscribe below at Role Player Media, at Swish Cultures. We'll be here every Monday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. That's Richard Hendrix, Anthony Goods. I'm Jordan Taylor. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.